jump right in.
Let's do it. Well, first off, we are quality control chicks.
Quality control chicks.
I'll have to think of something fun to do in post. I know. We do our own sound effects here in the pod.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Love it.
I also realized this is the 9th episode we're recording, that we never actually stated the purpose of the podcast or our background. Or maybe we did, I guess, a little bit in the first one, but we're two people who work in the film industry who analyze mistakes in movies and TV. So we have the industry background.
Yeah. And the reason we started doing this is because we work together at a post-production facility where we would have to point out errors in the TV shows that we had to watch for the network. And yeah, it was it was a lot of fun, and we still do it to this day, and that's why we're doing this podcast.
Yeah, it's kind of a habit that sticks with you, I guess, if you can call it a habit. It never really goes away once you know what to look for. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, even in terms of anything new, we're always messaging each other did you see this? What did you catch in this? Recently, in the last week, I have not noticed anything. We saw a movie together last night.
We did. Mickey 17.
And it kind of ties in perfectly with what we're going to talk about today on the pod.
Yeah.
We want to cover body doubles.
Yeah.
So what better movie to have watched just before this? Mickey 17.
Yeah.
It's literally about a guy who clones himself multiple times.
Well, yeah, he doesn't realize he's cloning. He's dying, and then a new version of him is getting made.
Yeah.
But then there's a mistake, and then there ends up being two of him for most of the movie, which isn't really a spoiler. It's in the trailers.
Yeah.
But yes, inadvertently, there becomes two of him.
Yeah. Yeah, to be honest, when that happened, I was really, really watching those moments because I'm oh, this is so perfect for this episode. Are we going to be able to tell if it's a body double being used or is it going to look seamless? And honestly, I was very impressed. I couldn't tell at any moment that it wasn't Robert Pattinson.
I didn't notice. I mean, when there's a shot when you see one of their faces and then the back of another person, there's always a bit of me that's I'm aware that's a body double because they're probably not going to bother comping that.
Yeah.
But it didn't stick out to me too much, especially and then there were a lot of scenes that were cleverly shot where they wouldn't have to do any kind of a split screening. There's a moment where they're two of the characters are sitting on the floor, and then there's one of the duplicates sitting above them, and I feel they purposely filmed it that way so that when it was a wide shot they could do the split screen, but then for all the coverage they didn't really have to worry about that.
Yeah.
Because I know the film had a big budget anyways, but I'm sure that was a way of cutting down at least a little bit on the post side.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, whoever the body double was, I feel the body type was very similar to Robert. As I said, I couldn't really tell. Sometimes that's what it is. It's you can see, their body's not quite the same, or something doesn't quite feel right with the person. And then, or even as we're going to talk about in today's episode, sometimes the comp for the face, which is, for anyone who doesn't know what that means, is just in post-production, it's when you're just going to take what you filmed of the actor, and then you're just going to basically almost copy and paste onto the body double so that you'll have the same face as the actor. And sometimes they do it with body as well.
Yes.
But in most cases, they usually only do the face, and they try and get the body to be really close.
Yeah, they try and find someone who, we were talking briefly before this, it's similar to a stunt double, except a body double doesn't necessarily have to do a special skill. They're either for a stand-in for an eyeline, or in the case of this and some of our other examples, a duplicate of one of the actors. So they have to look as close body-wise to the actor they're mirroring as possible, which is interesting because now that I'm saying that out loud, it makes me remember in drama class when that mirror exercise they have you do.
Yes.
I feel it's that, but on a bigger scale.
Oh yeah. I feel those actors are this is what I did this for. Like,
Finally.
drama school finally amounted to something.
I tell my drama teacher it's applicable to life.
Yeah. And it's funny because it's like when you're the body double, sometimes you don't really get to be that like, oh, the actor in this movie, but you have a pretty big role. It's your body's there. You're walking around. You're doing a lot of the actions, but like you don't get to have your face be on screen. And it's very bizarre, but it's very needed in a lot of film situations. And we're going to talk about some of those.
Yes.
But anyway, so what did you think of the movie?
I thought it was good. I mean, Jack and I were talking about what Bong Joon-ho films we've seen otherwise. And that would be, I guess, Parasite and Okja, and we watched Snowpiercer a couple years ago.
Oh, yeah.
I would say it's the closest to Okja in the vibe because it's a little more satirical. It's a little more like, I mean, all of his movies to a certain extent are social commentary. That's kind of, he does like satirical social commentary movies, but with the way that the aliens and stuff were treated in the film, it was very reminiscent of the tone of Okja, which I liked. And that's kind of the vibe I got from the trailer. Because I remember when we saw Companion, that was like the only trailer they played before the movie was Mickey 17. And I remember thinking like, oh, that looks fun. And I was excited to, again, win tickets. I'm winning a lot of stuff this year with relation
Your
to
luck
movies.
Is great.
Let's hope it doesn't run out. That's not wood. Yeah, no, it was cool that we got to see that for $8, not free, $8, but still VIP, which I think was good. That we wanted to do VIP. I mean, we obviously asked what you guys wanted to do too, but I just assumed it would be a better viewing experience.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought the audience was great. Like everyone was laughing. There were so many comedic moments that were just emphasized by like Mark Ruffalo's acting and Robert Pattinson's acting, and it was so good.
Mark Ruffalo's in his goofball era.
Yes.
With this and Poor Things.
Oh, yeah. I could not, every time he came on screen, I was like, I was trying not to be that person, like laughing so loud that it was distracting people.
Jack had that covered, but there were so many people in the theater also doing that too. Like everyone, and then like gasping when like there were things going on with the little aliens, like you and like a couple other people were like, no.
Oh, they were so cute. I never thought I would think little like they kind of look like little bugs, but I'm like, they were so cute. I loved them.
Have you seen Okja?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, yeah. So you can kind of see what I mean these are more insect-like aliens, but the like hybrid animals and stuff.
In his films, there's so much just character to the creatures that they are their own like being in the film. Like you feel for them, you understand what's going on with them, and you can't help but be sad when they go through things that are sad. And I teared up a couple times. I was like, please, no. But it was good. I loved it. It was such a really, really fun film. And yeah, for all the people that are hating on it, I don't really care because...
People hating on it?
Yeah, there are people who, there's certain people...
Sure.
Who know the movie is kind of about them. And they're hating on it.
Sure.
And honestly, good. Because then maybe some people open their eyes.
That's the point.
Yeah. Well, one other thing in terms of something I've watched recently, both just watched, or no, you didn't watch it, did you? The Adolescence
No, I
show?
haven't seen it
You
yet.
were going to.
I think Jack also wants to watch it, so I'm waiting, or I would have.
Yeah, we just binged all of it, and I was really looking heavy for QC mistakes because the whole thing is oneers. Each episode, I think there were only a couple episodes for the show, but they were all oneers. So like they would spend weeks upon weeks doing just the one episode so that they could get it to be one take, which was incredible. I was like eyeing it like a hawk when we were watching it, trying to see, this is the moment when there's going to be mistakes. Like if you're going to see something, it would be in a oneer. Yeah. And honestly, I didn't pick up on anything. And
it was an actual unstitched oner, right?
Yeah. They're claiming it is.
Well, I sent you a thing on Instagram. Maybe if I can find it again, I'll try cutting it in. But it was this girl who was some sort of editorial assistant, basically being like, "Yeah, here's a shot of the timeline, like it's one file, like, because then she's like, well, you might wonder why they need editorial at all. It's like, well, because we still have to like prep stuff and we still have to, you know, sound effects and things like that. Like there's still things to temporarily prep.
Yeah, like there's still editing involved. And like I talked about that with my partner because we were like, yeah, like what would you be doing as an editor for something that is just a one take? Like, do you really do a lot of editing? Like, what all is involved? But like, I think really like the moments you're doing something is probably just ensuring you've got the right take, and then maybe even doing like, you could do in-camera zooms or if there's stabilizing necessary, things like that. But it was one take. I'm pretty sure there was no...
When you're doing one shot too, especially if it's like an actual one shot, like just to explain a oneer a little bit more, basically like we've sort of been saying, it's one take. So you try and do, it's very, it's becoming actually more common now, but it's still very, very hard to do, especially like in the instance of adolescence where they're not stitching a few takes together to look like one shot, like it just straight up is.
Yeah.
But as we were talking, I realized too, like there's probably still going to be stuff you need to clean up. So there's going to have to be VFX shots that people are marking and comping in and setting up and online prep and all that things, the color cues, music cues, sound effects, temps. So there's always going to be something you need to edit, even if it's not the cutting of the actual footage, because there's nothing to cut.
Yeah.
But then it makes me think of stuff like 1917 and Birdman, which are like feature-length movies, and Silent House is another example, although it's been a while since I've seen that one.
Yeah. Where they're made to look like one takes, but editing was involved.
Yeah.
They did cut in seamless ways where you're not noticing.
They shoot in like 10 to 15, maybe 20-minute intervals. They do a bunch of takes, and then they creatively try and mask when they cut to another chunk of however long they shot for, and then but it's made to look like one continuous.
Yeah.
And I always love those movies. Like I love 1917. Like we've talked about physical media on the show before, on the podcast. I always call it a show. I guess it's a show.
It kind of is.
And I have Birdman and 1917 on Blu-ray, and I love both of those movies. But like you were saying, watching a oneer,
yeah,
you can kind of tell where the stitches are.
Yeah. And then this one, I really do think it was one take. I do think they choreographed the shit out of that because they travel all around in each episode. It's incredible. Like there are some stuff that they do in that show that I was like, how did they do that? How did they execute that seamlessly? And even the camera moves were seamless. Like I was like really impressed. So that's why I'm baffled and I want to like look into it more and like see, but I need you to watch it because I need you to also look and see if you see any mistakes, because honestly for a oneer and how much they moved around, I did not see camera crew. I did not see, you know, actors seeming like they were like, oh God. There was one instance where there was a girl, you could tell she was like kind of trying to get around the camera as it was moving. So there were things like that. And then there was a couple like actor fibs where she would say a line and you could tell that she might have missed the line, but it was like, it wasn't bad enough that like she'd just be like, oh, Sergeant so-and-so. And then it would move on. She'd be like, oh, also, and Sergeant, I'm so sorry, I forgot to introduce you as well. And you're like, oh yeah, that might have been a mess up, but it still felt real. It still felt authentic. You teach them how
to like correct in the moment so that you don't have to start the takeover. Yeah. And it could still feel natural. And so it kind of seems like what someone would actually do. And I think that's what I really loved about the show, because it felt very real. Like it was... The actors were amazing. They felt like real people. Yeah, I was very blown away. Is it based on a true story?
I think it's
loosely, right?
Yeah, it's more like the writer was inspired by a story of a young boy, so then he wrote his own kind of to that. Okay. But yeah, I highly recommend. Let me know if you see anything.
Yeah, I definitely want to check it out for sure. Once Jack's a little more free, we'll have to sit down and watch it.
Yeah. Oh, I binged it so fast.
I've been binging other shows like White Lotus and Yellow Jackets, which I'm happy to report there's 2 more episodes of Yellow Jackets. So far, no data.
Yeah, I haven't seen any more really bad QC errors.
No, they've been better.
Don't let no data clips get in there.
For like 3 days, that still blows my mind.
Yeah, that was bad. All right, well, let's jump right into the episode. Now that we've talked about what we've seen the last little bit. Obviously, as we said, we watched Mickey 17. We're talking about body doubles.
Yeah.
And specifically, we're going to talk a lot about the Poltergeist films.
Yeah, because this one I thought, this one's less of a QC example, more just something I thought would be interesting to ease into the topic. And then we'll get into some examples that, like, you can notice the body doubles in movies and things like that. Just because, and again, didn't have any physical media for today's episode, but I did have a Poltergeist shirt. So I made sure that I wore that.
You got all the fun shirts.
I know. Jack actually got this from this one for me at like a clothing exchange.
So cool. I'm always so jealous of all the like movie shirts that you have. As you've probably seen in our Scream episode, I was wearing one of your Scream shirts.
Yes.
I sadly don't have one. I'm still
We'll find
waiting.
you one, Janae.
I know. I'm determined.
One of these days.
But thank you for letting me borrow it.
You're welcome.
Because I love Scream too.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very cool that you always have very fun shirts to theme.
Yeah. I try to.
And usually actual media.
Yes. I legitimately thought I owned Poltergeist, and I think I was just mixing it up with The Exorcist, which I do own. Kind of. I own it. It's a region 3, so I can't actually play it, but I have it. It like came in a bundle that I got, and I was like, no. But I own it.
It's for the shelf.
Yes, it's for the collectible. Yeah. For the sentiment. Cool. But yeah, this one's a little bit of I'm interested to hear what you think about the ethics of the way this franchise had to go about using body doubles.
Yeah, for context, the little girl that is featured in the film, she was literally what makes the film.
Yeah.
Her lines in it were some of the creepiest.
They're iconic.
Yeah, the most iconic horror movie lines.
I would argue maybe the most iconic said by like a child actor in a horror film, at least.
Well, yeah, because it was kind of like what coined the like, creepy child kind of idea in horror movies. And, and people hadn't really seen that yet. And it was unnerving.
Yep.
And sadly, the little girl, she passed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anytime I like look into this story, it just breaks my heart.
Yeah. Because, I mean, the thing is, so, like, she was able to film all of the first Poltergeist movie and the second one, and most of the third one. She passed before they could do some reshoots. I think producers weren't happy with the ending. They wanted to reshoot something, and I think initially there was pushback from the director being like, we don't really want to change anything that we've shot and all this stuff, and what they ended up doing was using a body double where they just cheated it so that the mom is holding the daughter so that she's not facing the camera. And then they reworked the scene to sort of work around needing to have her say anything or do anything where you need to see her face. And I thought it was an interesting introduction to this because body doubles are used for so many different reasons, but this is such a unique case where it was purely just brought in because something tragic happened and they needed to finish the movie still.
Yeah, they were not anticipating her passing. It was very tragic. She passed of, essentially it was like bowel obstruction. And like incredibly tragic. So it was not... No one knew this was going to happen. The family didn't know. And yeah, in the case of, you could just wrap your movie and, have a thing that says, we're very sorry, in memory of. You could just scrap the film. They decided to instead use a body double. I think the ethics in that, it's iffy. Yeah. It's hard. I would say in this case, it's like, it's really sad. It's really tragic. I do think scrapping the film was not, like, they shouldn't do that because I think, like that is, like, her legacy. Like, she is the little girl from the Poltergeist films. So, like, she will always have that legacy. And so I do think that, like, releasing the movie, still doing the movie, like, I think that was fine. Mm-hmm. But even though a lot of people, when it comes to, like, child death and, like, horror movies, it's a bit of a, like, iffy, rocky thing to kind of deal with.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those things where I'm like, I think it was fine to release the film, but I do think like using a body double is a bit. Ugh.
I think because I'm reading back on our notes now, and they'd wrapped filming, just to elaborate on kind of what I said a bit before this. They wrapped filming, meaning that they finished all the planned shots, but then the studio was pressuring them to reshoot, and the director didn't want to. But they ended up, the compromise was using a body double because they couldn't shoot anything using her face. And what makes it really sad about, I mean, everything about the situation is sad, but she died, she was 12, and she died of what they're calling septic shock, but she'd been misdiagnosed with the flu, meaning that all of the ailments and stuff were just, they weren't treating it properly. Yeah. So what was actually happening was just going unnoticed, and they probably could have saved her if they'd actually noticed. Awful. But she suffered a cardiac arrest and was revived and then rushed to the emergency room where there was an obstruction that they tried to remove, but the toxins had gone unnoticed in her body for so long that they were kind of beyond doing anything at that point. And it's just... Just to compare it to like the Mickey 17 situation, like there's movies where you plan to have a body double, and then movies where you just need to, to last minute panic mode because the studio's like reshoot your movie, and they're like, well, this isn't a film too where like, I mean, if this podcast honestly wasn't about like QCD stuff, I would love to talk about like horror movies all the time. But it's nice when it overlaps with the subject of the podcast. But just to there's a lot of lore surrounding Poltergeist in general. It's people, because I think this was the one where they speculated the real human remains that were on the set, and the girl who played the sister was like murdered. Yeah, so there was like a lot of kind of people considered the film almost to be cursed. Yeah. And it's talked about on a lot of like, horror podcasts and stuff like that, because everyone is enthralled with the idea of the Poltergeist films being cursed and that, they should have never been made. And there was something like super evil going on while these films were being made, and there's people who truly believe in that. I think it's just an unlucky coincidence that Heather O'Rourke passed away, and the actress who played her sister in the movie was murdered by her abusive ex-boyfriend. I think before the first movie premiered, or the second one. It's just a terrible coincidence. But there's always going to be people who are like, oh yeah, this film is cursed. All these tragic things happen. But it's like, you could say the same thing for Glee. People do, though. I know. The Glee curse is real. There's been too many. You believe in the Glee curse? I mean, believe is a strong word. We had to have a little bit of a laugh because talking about the other thing is very, very We got to liven it up a little bit now. Have to liven up a little bit. But yeah, it's one of those things. It's like, I think it's unfortunate. I mean, it does seem like the only thing they did was just when the mom's holding her and it's her back. Yeah, it was just the ending of the third film, and it was only at the pressure of the studio because the director wanted to honor the footage that had been officially like wrapped out before she passed. But studio insistence prevails to get your movie done, I guess. So but I think I do believe, and this isn't in the notes, so maybe I'll have to cut this or fact check it after, but I'm pretty sure the film was still like given the thumbs up by the family, even after the reshoot. So I think they were still all for it coming out. Yeah, I think she put so much work into it. Yeah, it's one of those hard things where it's like, it is unfortunate it was a horror movie, and then for that to come out after something tragic is really sad. We're going to get into talking about some lighter instances of body doubles now. I.e. actual QC errors. I just wanted to start with the Poltergeist thing because I thought it was interesting, and it brings up an interesting conversation. Yeah. To lead into uses that are a little bit more comedic when you spot body doubles in the wild. Yep. When you weren't supposed to. Yep. When the TV network did not anticipate that they would change their framing from 4:3 to 16:9. It's the same reason why we got a cameraman filming duels in Harry Potter. it's, you know, like they clearly shot for the ability to broadcast this way. So I don't understand. I get you have a huge cast and they can't always be on set, but when you have the option of reformatting later and then you do for like streaming release and probably some DVD releases, it is so funny, with Friends in particular being the example we're going to start off with, where the amount of body doubles that are there instead of actors in episodes is like kind of a running joke now.
Oh, yeah. I feel like when people, because there was obviously everybody watched Friends. It was such a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was this whole other, like, once it started being more broadcast to like 16:9, and then people also having like the box sets and it being like, you could start to point out or like notice things that you maybe might not have noticed when it was just like on TV and you were just catching the odd episode or whatever. Mm-hmm. Now it ended up becoming a bit of a game to find really funny things in the show.
Spot when the actor changes.
Wait a minute. Who that? Who's that in that corner?
Because that's not Monica.
That is absolutely not Monica. It doesn't look anything like her.
That is the funniest one that I came across, because there's actually so many. I mean, there's a bigger example, but this one was the funniest for such a like random episode, because the other big example we'll get to a little bit after, but the Monica one makes me laugh because it's just for the one shot.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I mean. You had to be looking for it, and it's so funny because it's like, wait a minute, I need to rewind. And who the hell was that?
What's funny is like, so clearly what they've done is, so Friends is a multi-camera sitcom. I mean, I don't need to explain that's a sitcom, but the multi-camera is important because they'll shoot multiple cameras at once to get coverage, but that means that they will not always need all of the actors if they're gonna just be like, say the camera was only on Janae right now. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't necessarily need to be sitting here if the camera's on Janae. It could be someone else that she's talking to just for like eyeline purposes, so that both the cameras will cut together, but maybe I'm like off getting lunch and they're like, okay, your body double will sit in for an eyeline. Yeah. So they would do that on Friends and most sitcoms, honestly. But it was noticeable of Friends because of the reformat, and there's a scene where Phoebe's talking to Monica for most of the coverage, but then there's a shot where the camera's on Phoebe, but Monica's I'm doing air quotes for people listening, Monica's face sort of comes in the bottom corner of the shot, and it's very clearly someone who vaguely has the same hair color as Courtney Cox. Yeah. Just there for her to have someone to look at.
Yeah, when we're talking about trying to make your body double really look like the person, well, in this case, all they did was just have the same hair.
Yeah, but not even, because they're talking about her getting a haircut, and then they cut to a woman whose hair is like behind her ears and maybe even like pulled back.
It is not even remotely the same hair. It is just the same hair color.
Exactly.
It is. Yeah, so if you want to go find it, it's called The One with Rachel's Date.
Yes.
And it's specifically Lisa Kudrow sitting on a couch and she's talking to Courtney Cox. And it's just really funny because I'm pretty sure this isn't the only case. I've definitely seen other ones where, you know, it's clearly not the person.
There's like in Friends or in other shows?
At that and other shows, it's just like, you're like, oh my, why did they do that? You know what I always think, though? If you're like because these shows are sitcoms, so like people, sometimes they're doing like live audiences. Mm-hmm. What happens in that situation? Because I know a lot about like film and TV, but I don't actually know that much in terms of sitcom. Do they just like people in the audience just sit and watching and it's like not Courtney Cox?
I think so, yeah. I would have to assume so, because I listen to the Pod Meets World a lot, and they talk about how they shot in a similar format, but I don't think they would use body doubles. But like if they would, like, I think sometimes even the audience would watch like the rehearsals and stuff. Yeah. So I feel like if you have that many rotating cast members and you got to keep getting coverage, then I feel like it's just kind of
so
a little tidbit that they got in on getting to watch the like filming and stuff.
Yeah. It's just like, that would be so weird to have been in the audience for that and to see that moment.
Well, and there was one I found of Rachel. I don't know the name of the episode because I just found this example today. But Rachel's like just walked into the apartment. She's talking with Ross, and then the camera goes to being on Ross, and there's someone who's, I guess, supposed to be Rachel, like standing behind him, but she's not even wearing the same outfit.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, look, I can forgive the Monica like hair tucked behind the ears versus if it was covering her face, it probably would have been less obvious. It wasn't Courtney Cox.
Yeah.
In this instance, like, she's wearing like a plaid shirt and looks like she was just like a crew member that they're like, hey, can you just stand there kind of thing is what it seemed like.
So stand in?
Yeah.
Oops.
Which is like, stand-ins and body doubles are kind of a little interchangeable. I feel like stand-ins are usually there for testing, just like camera setups, and then body doubles would be more used for like twins or like eyeline or something like that. Sometimes they're interchangeable, but and then stunt doubles are used for stunts. Friends did not really, I'm sure there's some episodes, it's a long show, I'm sure they needed stunt doubles at some point.
Yeah.
But
we have another example in here too. I guess it's like Ross and his parents.
Yeah, I'm going to need you to say the name of this episode because you're the bigger Friends fan and I don't know how to pronounce that.
Okay, I think it's pronounced. So the episode is called The One in Massapequa.
Is it Massapequa?
Pequa? Massapequa?
Pourquoi?
Pourquoi?
I say pourquoi.
I don't actually know. I could not tell you.
I didn't realize how annoying that would be for us to have to actually say what I put that in.
All the true Friends fans are going to be like, excuse me. How can you not know that episode? Well, it's just funny because it is not. So the person who's supposed to be like, I guess, Ross's dad.
Yeah.
Like when they cut to like a different, like it's back onto Ross when he's talking to the parents, whoever that man is wearing glasses, first of all.
Yeah.
So it's going from the dad not wearing glasses to suddenly someone wearing glasses that he's talking to. And it also does not look like his dad at all.
No, and the other thing too, I was going to say, so a lot of the reason for special in sitcoms body doubles is eyeline for the actor to say their lines too, so that the cameras cut together.
Yeah.
This man is shorter than the main actor. Yeah. His hair color is darker. He's wearing glasses. The only same thing is he's standing in roughly the same spot.
Yeah.
But then when they cut, this one's more egregious than the Monica one purely because they keep cutting back to footage with the double and then footage with the dad and then footage with the double. And it's just like, are you fucking serious?
They were like, it's fine. He's an older white man.
Sure. All white guys look the same.
All white guys look the same. They won't notice.
No. Who's looking at that stuff anyway?
Yeah.
He's like, it's not even like, my brain with this one too is like, even with the 4:3 framing, I feel like you would still be able to see that's not the dad. Like the way they shot it and blocked it.
Yeah, because that one doesn't even seem to be just an issue of like, oh, we put someone in there just for eyeline. Like with Phoebe, it's like for her, maybe they just put that girl in so it looks like she's got an eyeline for someone who she's talking to for the scene, right? Because in comedy, you kind of need to be able to bounce back. Like you got to have that actual personal connection to be able to do comedy and hit those notes. But for that one with his dad, it's like, they clearly, because they cut back and forth, it's like, why didn't they just use the actor? Like, it's not just for eyeline. Like, they had someone in there.
And maybe this is an ignorance thing. I don't think this guy's, like, a big name guest star or anything. Like, I don't think it's like, oh, well, John Smith can only be in the main coverage or something. Like, I'm sure that probably wasn't a factor here. So why would you tap in the other guy who looked nothing like him and doesn't meet the eye line?
Yeah,
like, what was the qualifications?
Weird.
It's just subbing a fucking camera guy at that point.
Like, maybe he was.
Maybe. Maybe they're like, well, his body double didn't show up, so... You're up, Brian. I don't know why his name's Brian.
Don't worry about taking your glasses off. It's all good. It's going to be in 4:3.
You got to see what we're doing. So, yeah.
Oh, no. Yeah, it's bad. Obviously, as we were talking about in the very beginning of the episode, so the Parent Trap with Lindsay Lohan.
And Lindsay Lohan.
Yes. She finds out she has a twin. And the whole thing is, they never knew each other, and then she's got to interact with herself. And instead of casting twins...
Which they did, I think, in the original Parent Trap.
Instead, they just decided to do her, and then a body double, and then just comp her own face onto the other little girl.
Or cut the footage together of takes of both.
Well, what's really funny about this and why I was saving this for the pod, when I was younger, I actually thought Lindsay Lohan was a twin.
The producers thought she was a twin. She showed up to the red carpet and they were like, "Oh, your sister couldn't make it?" And they were serious. It's like, you helped fund
cast her.
the movie. What are you talking about?
Yeah. No, I actually did. Because when I saw the movie, I mean, I was pretty young when I saw it for the first time.
I think it was all of our first exposures to Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah. I loved it. It was such a good movie.
Oh, it's
but
the best.
I thought she had a twin for like the longest time. And then when she started being in other movies, I was like, I wonder what happened to her twin. And I'm like...
She stopped acting.
I'm like, they always quote Lindsay Lohan, like whatever happened to her twin? And I was like, I didn't actually know the name either. I was like,
British twin.
What would be her twin's name? Like, I don't even know.
Leslie Lohan.
That was my blonde moment. I actually thought Lindsay Lohan was a twin.
I mean, I think that's fair, though. I'm pretty sure a lot of us thought that when we were younger.
Yeah, I mean, as a kid watching it, it looked pretty legit.
I will say, though, and why this movie makes the list, because honestly, it is pretty flawless. I feel like this is another, like, Jurassic Park. Mm-hmm. That's such a strange comparison to make Parent Trap versus Jurassic Park, but stay with me. In that it holds up. Like, it is so well done. Mm-hmm. But there are some scenes where you can see the body double, and that's why it makes this list. Because even as a kid, like, I feel like with what we were just talking about, I definitely went on for a long time thinking she had a twin. And then when I realized she wasn't, I've obviously seen the movie many times since that point in my life. And that's when my brain went, okay, well, I wonder if I can spot when they were using another actor or body double in this instance, or if I can tell, like, how they split the takes of the footage, because it's not always like a replacement. Sometimes it is actual just footage of her twice and comped together.
This film used a lot more split screen and then just the couple face comp with the other actress. And so I think that's why maybe I didn't notice for like the longest time, embarrassingly long time. But yeah, then, you know, once you're looking for it, it's like, oh yeah, okay, I can see it there.
It's usually on the tail end of a shot where you feel like the focus isn't on them as much anymore, so they're hoping people aren't looking there. But I've said before that, like, when I'm rewatching a movie, like, my eye's going to drift to other parts of the scenes, and that's when I'm going to notice this kind of thing. And I believe there were multiple body doubles they used, but this girl Erin was like the main one that they used.
Yeah, she had like the right look. She had the classic red hair. Yeah, and there's a scene where, like, there's one in particular that I was able to find, and I'll also try and cut in some clips of some behind the scenes of how they did the double replacements, because it's also very interesting. But there is one scene in particular where they're sort of scheming how they're going to get their parents back together. They're going back to sleep, and you can see that on the left side of the frame, it's the double that's, like, in bed with Lindsay Lohan instead of two Lindsay Lohans. Yeah. That was the most egregious one I could find. For the time that this came out, it was definitely pretty good. I'd say it was pretty good.
Yeah.
Obviously, it fooled me.
Fooled most people. I mean, I'm pretty sure.
To this day, I'm still like,
is it a Poot situation?
Is Lindsay Lohan's twin Ashley out there?
She's in an attic
secretly
somewhere.
Hiding.
Poot Lovato and Leslie Lohan are hiding somewhere.
Poot Lovato. 100%.
Oh, no.
Lord of the Rings.
Yes. And again, not an example of bad body doubles, an example of use of body doubles.
Yes. This one is we're just talking about it mainly because it was an example of how they would try and really show, like, the shortness.
Yes. Of the forced perspective, I guess.
Yeah, of the hobbits and have it look very accurate to camera and, you know, make sense.
Yeah, because there's a lot of instances in the franchise, in, I believe, both The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings films, where they were doing what I sort of mentioned as forced perspective, which is where it is all just the actors with no doubles, but they're filming it and staging it in a way that makes the actors look smaller or bigger, depending. They use a very similar tactic in Elf with Will Ferrell to make him look larger, but it's done practically in camera. But because, they can't do that with every shot, it's very technical. It works easiest when there's no camera movement and things like that. There were instances where they would use people of a smaller stature to double as the actor or actors, I guess, because, they needed to look tiny.
Yeah. In a lot of cases, too, like where you had the blanking on the name of the tall bearded dude.
Gandalf?
Gandalf.
I'm blanking on the name of the tall bearded man.
That bearded dude.
Dumbledore?
Whenever they were next to Dumbledore. No, whenever they are next to
Gandalf.
You know what it is? I keep wanting to say Ganondorf. Like
the crossover we didn't know we needed. Legend of Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings. That crossover, you know what I'm talking about. Jack's smiling. He knows.
He likes it. He can't hear us.
No, he's too busy talking.
What are you talking about?
We promised more Jack this episode.
I said Ganondorf, and I was meaning to say Gandalf.
Oh, Ganondorf.
Ganondorf.
Yeah. Just mixing all the tall bearded people, Ganondorf
Wait,
has a beard, too.
Are you talking about Lord of the Rings?
Yes.
Right?
Yes, I'm trying to talk about Lord of the Rings.
You're not a true nerd, I guess.
I am just missing. The name's just messed up for all of them. I'm going to try this again. So, Gandalf, he's supposed to be very tall in comparison to the hobbits.
Yes.
So, for a lot of scenes, they would have the body doubles in so that they could show the height difference.
Yes.
Because obviously, Frodo...
Elijah Wood is relatively short.
He's a short king, but not short enough.
No.
So they had to work with body doubles to make it look more accurate.
Yes.
And in that case, I think it was done very well.
I think so too, yeah. No QC errors to note there, but an interesting example of why you would maybe use a body double for not an eyeline or not a deceased actor.
Yeah.
With a little bit more of a creative purpose, I guess.
Yeah. And then we can also talk about another film where body doubles were used more for the purpose of a skill, which we kind of have talked about in a previous episode where we talked about someone needing to play violin and the actor couldn't do that to the same degree that needed to be done. And so
but also the I, Tonya example as well.
And I, Tonya as well. So in this case, we were going to talk about Black Swan because there was a bit of controversy surrounding the fact that Natalie Portman, while she trained a lot and she learned a lot for the film, it wasn't enough.
No.
It wasn't to the level of like high-level ballerina work, which is intense. It's grueling. It's not something someone can just pick up very easily. And in that case, they did have to use body doubles. And there were a lot of people who were like, oh, she won her award. Like, is
how
that
much of
fair?
That performance was just Natalie Portman versus how much of it was aided by this body double who's not getting the recognition or sharing the award for the same amount of work put into... Maybe not the same amount of work put into a role. That's a bad way of explaining it. But a lot of the essence of that character was embodied.
Ha ha ha! You're so funny.
By her dance double, her body double. And so it became this interesting point of conversation because she won the Oscar, but even famously, there's nothing for stunt people, let alone body doubles. So it was like, how much of that, do you attribute to just the one person getting the award?
Yeah. I think because the film is so psychological, I think her winning the award is very fair. I think it's very deserving. But however, I do agree that there should be awards for people who are having to perform things like that. Like if you're doing the skill that's needed, like with ice skating or the ballet work, cello, stunt doubles, like there should be awards for those people who are doing part of the performance.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's usually such a physical aspect, whether it's stunt double or body double, because it's very physical to play an instrument, to dance, to skate, whatever it is, especially doing stunts. And we'll probably do a whole other episode on noticeable stunt doubles because there's definitely a bunch of those too. But because it's a different skill set, it sort of falls under a different cat umbrella, I guess. I did hear they were maybe going to start recognizing stunt people at the awards.
so.
But I don't know if that's for sure or which awards it was or when they're actually going to start doing that. It might be one of those like non-televised awards when they actually do it. But
well, I mean, whether they televise it or not, it needs to be done because it's something that has been a part of film, like a very important role in film for so long that goes so unnoticed and uncredited.
It can't all be Buster Keaton, Charlie Chaplin, and Tom Cruise. So,
oh, Tom Cruise, that guy.
What a guy.
I feel like he just tries too hard, man.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's like, we get it. You scaled the fucking largest building in the world. We get it.
Yeah. He just doesn't want to let another stunt person show him up, I guess.
They film those movies around the stunts he wants to do, I swear to God. They're like, can we somehow set it in this situation so I can learn how to do this crazy thing? So I'm not known for just Scientology anymore.
And his very good, doesn't he give people like a very good coconut cake or something? He like gifts like, he's like known for like apparently, very famous people. He'll just send them a really, really expensive, rich cake that he's like known for. It's like the Tom Cruise cake. It's actually a thing.
Is there like a Scientology VHS inside it or something? Like instead of someone popping out of it, it's
I think it's
1 month free intro class to Scientology. That's the special part.
Yeah, maybe. There's got to be something in that cake.
I don't know if it's the best cake ever.
Yeah.
The only time I heard about him doing that was in a way less creepy way. It's a bad thing to riff off of, but I think he gave one to Dakota Fanning when they were shooting War of the Worlds, which, side note, I love that movie. I love that War of the Worlds movie. Like,
me too. I know
it got like really bad reviews, I think, and people don't like it, but I like it.
I still like it. It's a classic.
Yeah.
But the cake thing, the only reason I brought it up, I actually just watched the show Hacks, and like there was an episode where the comedian in it, she finally gets the Tom Cruise cake, and it's like a whole thing, and it's like, you got the cake? Like the Tom Cruise cake? And I was like, this is a thing. Like, this is actually a thing that actors get this from him. I'm like, what is it? I guess he was trying to be like, oh, eat the cake.
Drink the Kool-Aid.
Drink the Kool-Aid.
Eat the coconut cake.
That's what it is. Totally. Very off topic, but
it's related enough. I'll keep it in.
It is. It's about actors and their crazy stunts and other life stunts that they pull.
Exactly.
So Harry Potter, we have
again.
We talk about it a lot. It's the scene we talked about before, we can bring up again because it's the scene with the wardrobe where there's just literally, if you pause at any point in that scene, you'll be like, who the hell is that?
Yep.
That is not any of the actors.
No, they were probably, you know what they say on the Pod Meets World a lot? It's like, oh, Ben had exams, or maybe Ryder had exams. Like, well, maybe the actors had exams. They're like, well, we'll use all the other kids for the wide shots and we'll use body doubles for the main three and hope no one notices.
Well, everyone has noticed, and it is bad.
The internet is a thing now. People are going to notice.
Yeah, it is. It's so funny because you can pause at any moment and you're just like, that is not anyone.
No. Who is that?
Who is that?
Is that the chosen one?
And it happens multiple times in that scene. Like, it's not just one instance. There are several moments you can pause, and it is just totally random people.
I will say, though, it's usually the wider shots because I think they thought, like, oh, you see a tuft of red hair, you're going to know it's Ron or something like that.
Exactly.
The close-ups are still very much the actors.
Yeah. And they're just saying, oh, yeah, they've got the same hair color, and we'll just throw some glasses on this guy. He'll look enough like Harry. It's fine.
Sure.
More like, that's cosplay Harry. That's not really. That's not Dan
that's like Madame Tussauds, like Harry, I think.
I'm sure the body doubles in those instances were so proud, though.
Oh my God, yeah. They probably, like, that screenshot is probably their Facebook picture. You know what I mean?
Like, look,
good for you.
I actually got to see myself
in
the movie for once. Because usually your face is just comped or it's just the back of your head or something. But this time, your face made the movie.
Yep.
You're in the movie.
And now it's iconic because it's one of the bigger QC things people talk about in relation to the Harry Potter films.
Yeah, it's so good. Yeah, at least they get to have that. That's their legacy.
Yeah, that's their 15 minutes of fame in the third film.
Yeah. Well, obviously another big one is with Hagrid.
Yeah.
In the very first movie, and I'm shocked that I didn't notice it as a kid because now it is so bad. It's
Oh my God.
You cannot notice it. It's the scene where they're in the lighthouse and the family's trying to hide away. They don't want Harry to get taken.
Hagrid shows up with the Tom Cruise cake for Harry.
Harry.
You're a Scientologist.
I'm a what?
Yes.
It's canon.
Oh my God. That's so good. Yeah, so the Scientology cake, Hagrid presents it to good old Harry. And
Or is it Hagrid?
Or is that Hagrid? It definitely doesn't look like Hagrid. That, speaking of Madame Tussauds,
That one, yeah.
was bad.
Because I'm pretty sure it's an actor with like a prosthetic that's meant to look more like Robbie Coltrane.
Yeah, the face is like wax.
Yeah,
like
it's uncanny.
Not moving, and I'm just like, how did they let that slide?
It's really creepy. Like the scene itself is like, as a kid, is a little bit creepy because you're like, who the fuck is this giant guy bursting in on this safe house, telling this 11-year-old kid he has to come with him to this magic school. It's
to join Scientology.
To join, the magic school.
The magic school, everyone.
We have cake.
Yeah, this is sounding a little bit like,
I'm seeing some
where are they
parallels
doing
now.
it at Hogwarts?
Uh-oh.
Oh God. Yeah, it's bad, man. And it's not even an excuse of like the 4x3 situation of the VHS being it's like he's right in the middle of frame. He's very tall. And the reason they used this other guy was because obviously Robbie Coltrane isn't
very
tall enough.
Yeah.
I mean, he was compared to child Daniel Radcliffe, but to the adults, he wasn't. So they cast I'm not sure the name of the man.
I'll put it in post.
Yeah, but he's very tall. So they used him to give that looming look. But I'm like, why? Like,
and just like that one scene, noticeably in that one scene anyway, because a lot of the time, like we were just talking about forced perspective, that's not really necessary when it's just kids surrounding him. There's very few scenes where Hagrid needs to proportionately be that much taller because he's not a full giant either. So he doesn't have to be so much taller than everybody, but taller enough that he looks tall compared to a child, but like taller than like an average person.
Yeah.
So.
And also, like, as the movies went on, they kind of did that less and less, like kind of worried about that less and less. Because it was like, yeah, you know what? People don't really care all that much that he's like, they would do some shots where like he would look taller, like if he was walking down the hallway, the big dining room area. And you would have that actor, the really tall actor, walking through, so it looked like Hagrid was very tall. But aside from that, they mostly used Robbie. Was mainly like, it was kind of that first movie, I think, where they were kind of like,
they were still playing around with it. Yeah,
make this so he's like way more looming.
Well,
but
even another QC thing I just remembered about this movie. It's not body double related, but I think because it was the first film, they were still figuring stuff out. There's a last scene where they're leaving on the train and Harry's like, I'm not going home, not really.
Yeah.
They were testing out buck teeth on Emma Watson.
Oh, yeah.
And because they shot that and didn't refilm it after they decided to scrap it, you can still kind of see that her front teeth are a little bit more protruding. So there's like little things like that where it's like more forgivable for the first like couple films to have things like that.
Yeah.
Because they were still trying to figure out how all of this world was going to visually come together.
And then they just kind of realized, we don't really need
no one's going to give a shit she doesn't have buck teeth. Or,
Even the hair thing, I remember it was a whole thing for her to have the super, super frizzy hair was part of her character. And then they eventually, after like 3 movies,
it was just kind of curly after a bit. And then it was just whatever her natural hair was.
Yeah. So, oh, well, continuity, guys. That's great.
Yeah.
Character continuity.
There is none.
But yeah, we had to talk about that because it's so bad.
It's so bad, and I feel like I've seen that circulating a lot recently.
Yeah.
Like I've seen that example come up a lot more on my like algorithm of, we're on TikTok now. So also on TikTok, but on Instagram, like I've been seeing those examples a lot.
The way we say or talk about TikTok, I really do feel
Truman
like
Show.
Steve Buscemi when he's like, "How you doing, kids?
Hello,
Or
fellow
whatever.
kids."
Fellow kids." That's how I feel about TikTok.
I thought you were going to say the Truman Show when they start just randomly being like,
Oh, no.
and this is the best coffee.
Oh, well, that too. Like, does feel like that as well. But I just feel so old when it comes to TikTok.
I know.
But
I'm trying to
we're doing
expand
it.
our reach, so we're on TikTok now as well, but
if we come off a little millennial, I'm sorry.
it's because we are a lot millennial. Actually, I guess we're cuspers technically.
Mm-hmm. Don't remind me.
Depending on the website you look at, we're either 1 or 2 years off the cusp of Gen Z millennial. We're millennials though, okay?
We are. I do want to talk. Can I please talk about this one example, though? I know you put it on and you kind of want it to be on stunt doubles, though. But the reason why I want to talk about this one is because I actually, when I read into it, found out that it's not a stunt double situation.
Is it the Twilight one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why my note in here was we can probably talk about this being either or, because I was looking into it too.
I would like to talk about this one just because I find it so funny.
Why is it not the actors? I don't get it.
But this scene specifically where you do see the body double is early in the beginning of the film when he like announces that he's a vampire and he's going to tell her about,
Oh, right. He goes, you have to see me in the sunlight. And then that's why they start
and
running.
He just throws her on his back and then runs.
Yeah.
If you pause at any point in that scene, it's not either of them.
Yeah.
And doesn't even look like them. It's so funny.
When I was looking into this, because that's why I said we can probably still put this example in this breakdown, because it's like, it's not a stunt. Really?
No. So that's why I had to look into it, because I was like, is this a stunt? Was the fast running a stunt? And apparently the actors did all that. So like the scenes, even at the baseball diamond, when they would run, they would do the running fast thing. It was all like done so that it could
I've
be the
seen
actors.
BTS of them doing it, running on like a thing.
Yeah. So the actors did it. So there was no real reason for these body doubles to do that part.
It must have been like a B team pickup or something.
Yeah, it must have just been a scheduling or time something. But
A quick pickup they didn't have the actors for. A B camera team, to expand on that a little bit, is typically like, or B unit would be like, they'll have like the main camera crew shooting like with the actors.
Yeah.
And then oftentimes they'll send a B unit crew to get inserts, pickups, things that they don't need the actors for, or even just the main cast. Sometimes it's, secondary cast or people not needed for the main scheduled shots. So it's entirely possible, if this wasn't a pickup situation, that it was B unit where they're like, just get this with the body doubles while we go film this thing because we forgot about it or something. Like, that's the only thing I can possibly think of as to why they didn't use either of the actual actors for this very much not a stunt shot.
Not a stunt shot. And also like most like iconic shot, because it's the first time you see like them together and him showing her
Them
that he
together.
Can do.
Quotations.
Them. It's totally them
Together.
guys. Yeah, it's like that scene of him being like, I'm gonna show you that I can run really fast. And it's not them.
No.
But like I love the videos of people like pausing and being like, who the fuck's that?
So good.
Who that? That's not Robert Pattinson.
Or Kristen Stewart.
No.
For what reason?
Some girl in a really bad wig.
Oh my God, yeah.
I mean, her wigs were bad kind of in the later movies too. But
yes, because wasn't she filming that Joan Jett film, The Runaways?
Yeah,
during
she
one
cut
of
her
them.
hair.
So she had to wear a wig? Yeah.
Speaking of Elijah Woods,
Do
do you wear wigs?
When
do you wear wigs?
I love that so much.
Me too.
I
It's one
sent
of my
Jack a
favorite
reel
videos.
recently. Someone turned it into a song.
Oh my God, you have to send it to me.
Try and find it again. It was really
Will
good.
you wear wigs?
When will you wear wigs? Maybe.
So good. Maybe.
That's my favorite. Do you wear wigs? Sometimes. Will you wear wigs? Maybe.
We love you, Elijah Wood.
Short King.
Short King.
This next example, it's a little bit less obvious unless you know and unless you're really looking.
Yeah, because this one's an example instead of like a full body double. In Titanic, in the scene obviously where Leo is drawing Rose like one of his French girls. Literally, everyone knows the scene so well, but I bet you did not notice that those aren't Leo's hands.
Those are James Cameron's hands drawing naked Kate Winslet.
Yeah, because James Cameron is actually very good at art, and
Wanted to see her naked.
Ew, I hope that's not why.
No, I don't know. Allegedly.
Oh gosh, like give me the heebie-jeebies. Well, I mean, here's the thing. Like,
it's a bit creepy.
Nude art is not creepy, but like if it was like in a situation like that where it's like on set, like I don't know, that is a bit weird.
Was it like a closed set, or did he like film the pickup with her not in the room, just like drawing from like a reference of the footage or something? I do know they had to flip the footage because James Cameron's left-handed.
Yeah.
So they had to make it look like it was Leo's
You can
hand.
tell, too, because if you, like, really look at that scene again, like, the way he's holding the pencil isn't how someone who's right-handed is going to hold the pencil. It's very indicative of someone who's left-handed.
Yeah.
So you can kind of tell that it's been flopped.
If you can't already tell that it's, like, a much older man's hands versus, like, Leonardo DiCaprio. So there's, like, two things to notice about that footage. But, yeah, it's, like, a fun fact, but also, like, a QC thing that when you're, like, really look and you're like, that's a grown man's hand. Very much not Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah, sorry, James Cameron, you're not a hand model.
No.
You don't have those nice young looking hands that they should have used for Leo's body double.
Exactly. Or they could have just had him do the thing that I guess I kind of hate in movies where like someone's an artist, so they're painting or they're sketching and they're very clearly just drawing over lines that are already there.
They're not actually doing anything.
So I guess it's worth it for making it look, you can actually film the person sketching.
Fully doing a sketch. Yeah,
but
it was good to like see that, like that he actually was drawing. And again, I mean, I didn't notice, I don't think, when I first was watching the film. Alrighty, let's do our levels.
Levels.
The show. So since we want to kind of start explaining the whole grading at the end of each episode now. So each time we're going to kind of give what we talked about a level between 1, 2, and 3, which kind of determines what we think of an offense it is, whether we think it's a really bad offense or that could pass. And we learned this when we worked together.
When we were doing actual
QC, and we'd have to kind of decide whether something could go to air with that error or not.
Yes.
So we're going to go through, and this is going to be kind of bang, bang, let's get through it.
Yep.
Because we're going long on this episode.
I'll cut it down as best I can, but hopefully you still listen if this ends up being an hour and a half. I'm sorry. Or longer. I'll do my best.
It's okay. People who want to listen, they'll listen.
Exactly. And if you don't, do it anyway. We need the views.
Yeah. Okay, so for the very first one we talked about with the Poltergeist films.
This is like an ethical QC level, I think.
Technically, it's not an error. It's just, was it okay to do or not, I think is kind of how we would want to level it, right?
Yeah, I think so. I'm going to give it a 2. That's kind of what I was thinking.
I think 2, because it's one of those things where it really was on the fence. It was like on the fence of being like, but
I don't love it, but
I still appreciated that they were able to finish the movie for her, and like this idea of it was her legacy and it was the final film in a series of films that she worked on. So I would say 2, because it still kind of like honored her, but sometimes doing that after someone passes is a little bit.
Yeah, I think they, with the studio pressure, handled it the best they could to appease them to have the film finished and still come out. And so I think that the director's apprehension to do that in the first place brings it to a 2 for me, because I think had everyone being like, yeah, fuck it, let's just reshoot a bunch of shit.
Yeah.
That would have been a level 3 for me. But it seems like there was a lot of care and effort and thought still put into what they did with the film, despite the circumstances. So I think it's a 2. And it's not so much a QC thing. You probably wouldn't know unless you were really looking, which is what a body double should do. But the fact that it's only in there because they didn't have the actual actor, they like kind of had to use somebody who wasn't the actress. So I don't think they really could have gotten around that unless they had pushed back harder to not reshoot.
Friends was the next one we talked about as being more of an actual QC error.
I think we might agree on all of these examples because I feel like you're going to say it's a 3.
They're all definitely 3.
You can maybe excuse the fake Monica, but you can't excuse the dad.
No, not at all.
I'm sorry.
And it's an easy crop, guys. It's not that hard to just crop someone out if they clearly don't look
or get
like the
someone
person.
the same height, like anything other than he's an old white guy.
Yeah.
That's bad.
Those ones are a bit inexcusable. But they led to some funny conversations.
Exactly. That one alone is a 3, but I think the fact that it's become such a running thing in the reformatting of the show, it's a 3 all around.
Yeah. And then next, we talked about The Parent Trap. Obviously, I think it was pretty good. I don't see it as an issue at all. So a 1.
I'm going to also give it a 1 because I didn't notice anything until I learned, A, that she didn't have a twin, and B, that I, rewatched it down the line and was looking for it. And then that's when I started to notice it. So there only being a couple slip-ups in what otherwise is such a, seamless film from, the early 2000s or late 90s or whenever it was. I think it's pretty good. And I think it holds up better than some modern examples of body doubles for twins. So, yeah, it's a 1.
Lord of the Rings.
Legend of the Lord of the Rings.
Legend of the Lord of the Rings with Ganondorf. I don't...
It's Ganondorf. Ganondorf the Grey.
Ganondorf, whatever. That one, obviously a good example. So 1.
Yeah, that's a comparison example. So a 1. I'm sure if you look hard enough, there's some scenes where you can see that it's not quite the actor. But again, there's so much else going on in those movies, and I feel like you'd really have to dig. So if there was nothing that specifically stuck out to us, if there is anything that sticks out and we didn't notice it, please tell us. But
yeah, absolutely.
Definitely a 1 as far as I'm concerned. It's a contrast example.
And then Black Swan, obviously seamless to me. I think it's a 1 in my opinion on the dancing and whether or not it was fair for her to just be credited as winning the award. That's a different story, but I think in terms of just visually what we refer to as what we see.
It was really well done.
Very well done.
Yeah.
So 1. And then we could talk about the Harry Potter stuff.
Yeah, we got to give Harry Potter higher than a 1. I'm sorry.
Those ones for me are 3s.
Yeah.
I think they're really bad. So funny.
Yeah.
I'm glad that someone in QC didn't give it a 3 so that we could have those beautiful instances.
Yeah.
Lovely, creepy Hagrid.
Wax figure
Hagrid. Yeah, no, I think those are 3s though. Visually.
I think so. I would say almost though. I would maybe give 2.5 to the Prisoner of Azkaban Bogart scene, and maybe 3 to Hagrid, just because they're wider shots intercut with the actual actors and close-ups, and this one is just like a regular coverage, and there's only so many people in the frame to look at. So if your eyes go to Hagrid, you're like, that's not Hagrid.
Yeah, it's a little more pointed.
It's a little more,
It's more noticeable than
but they're both bad.
Twilight, I'm like, because it's the running scene, and I feel like you notice it more, you have to pause to notice it.
You notice it more, and there was no reason for it. There was no reason for the doubles.
That too. Yeah, I'm like, I don't know, maybe it's like a 2 or a 3.
Yeah.
For level. I'm like,
we're doing halvesies. We can give it a 2.5.
Okay, 2.5. Yeah, I think it's just more like, I'm like, you did the running scenes with the other actors just fine.
This feels like a last minute, shit, we didn't get this coverage. We gotta do it. We don't have the actors anymore. Just do it.
Maybe. And then, obviously Titanic. Was it iceberg level?
Maybe a little ice hill.
I think it's like a 2 because it's something that they probably could have got if they knew they were going to get that close up of a shot. Mm-hmm. It is a very simple, knowing we know we're going to be this close on someone. We can find someone with younger hands who look more like Leo's to do that part.
Yeah, who can maybe draw if that's what they want to make sure they can get the progression of the sketch.
And it's such a close up that it can be a pickup. You could do it any day. You could throw
they probably
it in.
did. So.
Yeah, and I'm like, so it could have been different.
It should have been different.
Could be a 2, but at the same time, it didn't.
I'm going to give it a 2 just because if you really look at it, you can notice the hands are older, and also they had to flop the shots because he's not even the same, like, dexterity. So, like, yeah, I give it a 2.
What level do you give the drawing itself?
It's fine. Clearly, it's better than whatever Leo could do, so.
Yeah.
It's a sketch of a naked Kate Winslet.
Oh, it was a pretty good drawing.
Yeah.
I was always very impressed. I was like, I would love to learn how to do that.
You probably could. There's classes for that.
I know. I want to take some.
You might be on your own with that.
Eventually. At least my hands aren't old and wrinkly. Maybe I could be a hand double.
Yeah. Just do the doubling before your hands are old and wrinkly.
Yeah.
They will be at some point.
We always end every episode so weird.
I know.
It's become a thing.
I like that it's a thing. I think if you listen to the end, this is your...
If you get this far, you get to hear us kind of being going off the rails and being insane.
We've lost our minds after filming for so long.
Well, I guess by the end of the episode, we're almost done our beers. So that's usually
one beer, we're wasted.
Cheers.
Cheers.
All right. That's that.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah.
And I mean, if there's any others that you found that are way worse that
let us know.
To see, send it our way.
We'll do part 2s. We'll do multiple parts of stuff we've already talked about. We've already got another production mistakes outline on the go from stuff we've missed. So that's the thing with film and TV. Mistakes are going to keep happening. We'll keep talking about them. So
yes, I quite enjoy when people mess up.
Me too. Isn't it fun to laugh at other people's mistakes?
To be perfect. We don't want things to be perfect.
No, that's the appeal of not AI.
Yes. Ew to AI.
Ew to AI.
Yes.
And that's how we're going to end this episode.
Ew to AI.
Quality Control Chicks podcast is produced and co-hosted by Lisa Cumming
and Janae Perez.
Audio mix and master by Jack Rudy.
You can follow us on Instagram at Quality Control Chicks Pod for BTS, bonus content, and clips.
You can give us a watch or listen on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or anywhere you listen to your favorite shows.